It's Cyrus Wong. Now I would like to share a topic about the Flask web application framework in Python. This is a bit advanced topic, but it's not hard at all. First of all, you explain or introduce about the template engine. How can you develop a web form to collect the data from the user, and then about the database connection with SQL Alchemy, how to write a login application, just make use of the Flask login module, and then the user profile, error handling. This is a social media website, so-called. We are just refer from the blog post from so-called the Flask mega tutorial, and then if you create a social media application, you will set up the followers, and then the set up the pagination for the data. um First of all, the template engineering is the template engine is a Jinja template, okay, Jinja 2. The logic is that you want to generate the HTML through the data and the skeleton of the something like template. Just replace here. For example, you see the here is a title. Title will be replaced as a by to home, and then user is an object, and then got a field called username, and then it will be replaced by the user dot name, dot username. It is quite for the simple logic is just replace variable replacement. You set up a variable, and then the variable will be replaced in the HTML. But we can have more logic to develop for the template, and just straightforward. I just talk about it, but I also highlight the data here. You just replace the data over the block element with double curly bracket open, double curly bracket closes. And for the display, it is you still have some basic logic for the to generate the HTML. For example, if you provide the title, it will have this logic. For more of the website, you need to have this logic, since you will have the different title for different header, different page with different title. But you still want to have a suffix about your company name, or your blog name, and if the title is present here, so you can have the if condition, and then if you will use it will run the first block. If not, other cases it will become the second one. And for the development of this kind of template programming, you can use extension from Visual Studio Code. Is free of charge. You can have the auto complete high coloring, highlight it, and it will be confident for you. And for the display of data, is a quite common, very common. You will display something in a list. You got a list of information, and then, for example, here's a block information for the author and the body. You want to loop the data. You can using loop for loop in general. For loop, you got a pros here. You see the pros, and then here you just have a for each loop, and then you can pin out the information, just like the extract the data from the iterator for the element one by one. And here is the highlight of the program, the pros here, and then you got the user here. The pros become a looping element, and then one by one. um to reduce the duplicate code, yeah, using template engineering is quite important for you. That if you want to maintain your website look consistency. So, for example, you don't want to have some pages look different, and also you may want to update your website just a single page, and then 1,000 more pages trying together. You will extract the common part, so-called the basics. The basic part is the outer one, and then you have the inner content. You can have multiple inner content. For example, here is just one inner content. It's called a content. When you develop actually a HTML, you can just do something like inheritance from OOP, just inheritance from the base, and then you need to override it, override the content here, and then you provide the data. It will combine together to generate the HTML for you. Now we will move to the another section. It is very common and important for your develop the web application. You must let user to input some data. It's quite straightforward. For example, searching something, order something, fill the form, submit a request. You need to have a form building. Tools, you are better to use the Flask WTF, some automation. You just generate the from the framework, it can save you a lot of time and also have the better security. And first of all, you need to install the extension pip, install the Flask, and then WTF, and then you need to do some setup configuration in your Flask application. For example, since there is something encryption behind the scenes to protect your website, you need to provide a secret key. Someone don't know to do the encryption, and you need to set up the config object in your server. And after the configuration, you need to do some inheritance setup for your individual classes. And here I just mentioned before, since we need to do some security setup, you need to keep a secret key in your program or in your server. And the setup, normally we will make use of the environment variable, which is set up from the Linux or Windows, and then it from there, so that you don't have to hard code it. If you find the variable, you will use the server one. If you don't find it, just use something preset. And this is for development, you will use the second one. From the production, you will use the secret one. And should be unique and no one know. Suppose we want to prevent something called CSRF attacks, so cross-site request fluency. And I just keep a brief introduction or explain the hacking here. And you are logging into your bank account, okay? You log in there. When you log into the bank account, we should in previous lecture we just told you about something called section. When you after you log in into some system or so website, you will have a section token returned from the server, so that it will recognize you uniquely in the route. See, as everyone will have different token. Section token is secret. Um, but if you unluckily a hacker send a fake email to you, and then it has something some content. It's a link, but the link have some script there. You receive an email and then click on the link. It will open your web browser, and then try to access the banned websites. And then you send to the website, and then it may trigger your bank account to transfer the money to him. Okay, the logic is that since you already log in into the bank account, and then you click on a link and then go to one of the place so-called transfer money, and then it automatically run the script to send the money to him. This is a very common way to hack your system. So, first recommendation, if you not doing your web development, remember to log out your web application. Okay, website, banned website, secret website. We remember log it out. Don't keep it always on. Log out. And also, when you're doing something sensitive, don't do othering. Okay, you do some bank transaction. Don't try to review email or pay a game. It is dangerous. Okay, when you click on it, it receive it let make use of your login account to do some action in the band server, and then your account you got loss of your money. And another case is that is even crazy. The hacker may stole your session token. Another way is stole your session token, but it doesn't matter. Even though he don't know your session token, but he trigger your web browser to do something. It is represented by use. Even though he don't know the session token, the secret from the band sent to your browser, he still can control your bank account. And here is the logic. You log into the bank account, and then you visit a attacker website. Attacker will try to hiddenly in his website to send a request to transfer a money from the bank account website. And then if you have already logged into the server, you will logically the design like this, it will transfer the money since you send from the bank myband.com point of view. Your browser send a request to him to make the transfer. He don't know. Okay, he don't know. The bank don't know. No idea. How to prevent this kind of problem? You need to inject a token. It will change all the time. Okay, just the logic. You inject additional token in your web form. And when you create a form, we are now go back to Python and the Flask. You're using the this you create a form here, and then just we will show you the source code. You will just do something so-called login form, and then you put the form here. It will able to have the data and set it up, and and the and the web form you will have already configured, and we will configure the you just follow the document, but here maybe the version 1 or version 2 doesn't really matter. Later you just review the document. The string will not be very large, and you just configure it and then configure the object here, and then you got the variable. And now I just one of the cases about login, but in general, remember all of the form submission, form element in your web application, you are better to use the framework Fast WTF or remember do something very similar. And but now you can save a lot of time. For example, you just do, every time you want to have an input, you create a class which is inherited the Flask from the library. Inherit this one. But once you inherit the Flask form, Flask will be able to generate the security token, the field value, validation, whatever logic automatically. And then you got one variable is one display form field. For example, you got a username, password, remember me, and submit. Totally the display you get immediately username, password, and then remember me. And you said just told it is a string field, and then is it required that it will be meant the user to ask the user to fill it. And then password as well, you render the password, you render a boolean, is a chat block, and then the submit button here. Here, when you create the HTML output, traditionally, you see the source code, you send the you have a form here, you send to the display, and then you can do run by run to write down your HTML code one by one, one by one, one by one. Okay, you just form fill username label, username size, one by one. Just follow the. If you want to highly customize your user interface, you need to do this. You need to set it up one by one, and the most important part is that the from variable can you can extract to the view, and also there is the hidden tag to protect your website from the CRO attack. And for the from view, and you just if you want to do something easier, this one is you see you write oh what does the output is that you just write some Python. The Python will generate the HTML5 code for you and then have this display, and it saves you a lot of effort when you're writing write the HTML. You can shorten it, and also the framework will help you write down the most the best version of HTML code for you. And for even further, you find that you just call something from field name and then label. Label will give you a name of the field. Just field name and then call the function, call the method. You will generate the HTML for you, and this is the rate of writing the HTML5 code in Flask. And also you can set some value for the display, for the link, for the car, CSS, something. And this one is very important, the hidden tag. And we will talk about hidden tag next. But the validator will be very useful for your development, as nearly all the data sent from user to the server, you need to check it. For name, you must have username and password. There's a so-called required validator, but there is a lot of validator under the package from Flask. You can have check email address, track domain name, track URL, and then you just reach it out, check the document, and then you will just use a validator. It will implement the validation logic to make sure the data is correct. And now about the problem I just mentioned before, the CSRF is a very common hack from the hacker, but you don't want your website being hacked after the user log in something and then being hacked. You just inject a hidden secret field in the form is okay. Every time they submit the form, it will train the secret every second. where every time they reload, you train every time reload. Well, if someone want to pretend just do the injection method like before, submit a form request to your server, it don't know the hidden tag. Okay, the hidden tag is trained all the time. The latest one they don't know. Okay, so it can protect the user from being CSRF attack, and the hidden form plus the secret key will resolve the problem. There's a reason why you need a framework. If you don't use any framework to write the web application, it is very, very difficult to protect yourself. And hidden view, this is some recap of hidden view. Hidden view is a field inside a form, but the user don't know. Can't they will not see in the display, but you want to submit some data back to the server. In general, we will hit under still customer ID, hit under email so that the user after they log in, they don't have to always type something. You just want to keep some data in the HTML, and then when they click the button, we send back to the server. This is the way of using hidden field. But now we are put the security token inside the hidden field. And when you receive the form data, we will have a basic recap about HTTP protocol method. Most commonly, we will use GET to return data, use POST to send data from the client to the server. Don't don't mix this up since it cannot do it reversely. You can check out our previous lecture. There's some constraint between GET and POST, and the security consideration between GET and POST difference. And when you're writing a form, we just single web page, a web page so-called login will support GET and support POST. When you got the form submit, if the form data is valid, what mean valid? Valid it means the username and password also correct, and also they submit from POST. If they are using POST request and then the username and password is present, since we are only one requirement, we need a username and password. It will go into here to check the login logic. For example, check the database, save it into database. For the Flash, it says something so-called messaging. You want to send some temporary data from the real function here, the Python function, the controller function, the real function here. You want to send to the template, but you see that why there's a phrase here and then the form here, the title here, but this data is not sent into the redirect. You see there's no that since it's something like cookie, okay, it will keep into the wrap request, and then next time we'll receive it, but you refresh, it will disappear in general. And you can make use of Flash to show some temporary information once for your users. And where data, which is a mean plus the together with the meaningful error message for your validation fail case, and then you can have a lot of raw data combine the error message and description to instruct your user to use your system in the proper manner. And here is a lot of type of raw data. But after you got an error, we will have this syntax. Is the using a for loop for each loop. Every error will pin it out. Why this is a chance of multiple error. For example, you input something, you may trigger the password, the sorter, the length of password too short, and then the password format is too simple. There's a two type of error. You want to pin all of the error one by one with a loop so that user can understand the problem, what they are facing, and they need to resolve it. For the redirect one, in the user interface, you always need to have some URL to navigate within your website, and we will not hard code the URL and domain in the system since you have different server setup, different deployment. You don't know the actual URL at the end. So we just will mention the user function called so-called URL for, and then put the route value. The route value is here. You see this so-called route, and then you just something like router. You define the route login, and then log in here. It will generate a URL for your user dynamically according to your server situation, server setup. Oh, now you just have the a recap is that Flask is a very simple framework, and is target to have the model view controller pattern for your web application. We will use Jinja 2 for the view, Fast SQL algorithm for the database, and then the route, the core part, the controller part is the Flask. We use multiple framework together. Um, in fact, you can train different framework. You don't need to always stick to the both of them. You can have other framework, just plug it in. You can have a lot of flexibility to develop your application. Okay, now the logic is that user you will see the view from the browser, since the view is HTML, and then controller will train the view, and then user take some action from there, and then send the data to the controller. Controller will update the model, it means update the database, and then the model changes also update the controller, and then this is the logic of there's the flow when you develop the web application with MVC framework. And folder structure is quite simple. You just have a folder so-called template for the view, and then you have some from, you have a route as a controller. This is the most simple one. If the website is complicated, you would decompose the file into different folder structure using a blueprint. We'll talk about more about that later. And then we have the config, and then starting point is a run.py. For database, we have other lecture have a lot of focus on it, but now just a recap. And the Flask SQL algorithm extension is a fast, friendly wrapper SQL algorithm package. A SQL algorithm package you can directly using it, but if you want to write less code, you can just use a Flask SQL algorithm to minimize your source code. You need to configure something. For example, you must tell your Flask about the database URL, otherwise it's unable to connect it. The password will be append into this URL in general. You just from a variable or some secret place to get the password, and you just config according to the document, and then you will config the application step, application one by one with so-called middleware to handle the database. The concept of middleware is a lot of web framework is serve the same pattern. You have a web request from the client. It's a browser. Browser send you a get request, pull request, is so-called in general so-called request. A request is a data call sent to you, and then it will pass through one middleware one by one. It's something like a filter in general. Some of the application will say that in the past will tell it's like a filter, pass the first filter, second filter, first filter, and then go to the Python application, and then pass through back again when we respond request. You go through the filter, so-called pre-processing and pro-processing. And middleware is in Flask is help you to extend your application. For example, you go through the middleware, so-called SQL algorithm middleware. It gives you the ability to connect to handle the data processing through SQL algorithm, and then you pass the middleware of application manager for your application. It become the application have the logic about the user information, not in log out registration. You just need to define your class with inheritance, and then you can have the ability to do the login, log out, forget password, whatever. Um, the logic of middleware, you can define your middleware yourself. You just have this kind of example source code. You can define your middleware, so-called whatever. You can have some field, and then you go through the middleware. You can do something before and after the logic. For example, this one is something like set up the password, okay, to extract the username password, and then do something, and they just have a overview. You can have this example to extend your application. Since authentication may be a middleware, caching may be a middleware, logging maybe an app, maybe an very common case of middleware. You want to monitor the performance of your website. You just have a middleware to count how long time does the user from the request to the response. For database, here is the old version, but it does not matter. It's quite very similar. The version 2 run. This is so-called SQL algorithm version 1. For SQL algorithm version 2 and Fast SQL algorithm version 2, version 1, and your model will be just define here, have some column primary key and the link, and then you just write something basic Python cast logic, and then you can control your database here. And before the last slide, we saw a lot of detail in the other lecture, but this is the database migration, the operation, the creation of database. You just call db init. It will help you to have the basic setup. The metric and all the beautiful of the SQL algorithm is that you don't need to care about the type of database, the database engine, Oracle, MySQL, SQLite, all kind of database. You just install the driver, train the configuration, it will generate the SQL for you. For here, we will initial the database and then create the empty one. And then you will operate on the database about this is two type of operation. Remember, one type of operation is train database schema, create table, drop column, add column. Other type of operation is called manipulation the data inside the table. We are not talking about manipulation, train the data inside the table. We check out about create table, create add column, drop column, foreign key constraint. We train the structure of the database. You just create something called migration file. Okay, we use migration logic to version. The most important, we want to version control our database, upgrade, downgrade, so that we can GitHub everything. Here, if you want to do some database operation, before you do something, for example, I want to have an user table. You just Flask db migrate user table. If you very smart, you just create a class here. Okay, you create like you do the db init. Okay, you do the db init, and then you create a class, and then you run the migration. It will detect, oh, I found a class, I found an index, I found something, I found a field. It will generate a migration Python class for you. Don't touch it. You will not modify this file manually unless you're doing something very strange and abnormal, or you must override something manually. But you should not touch it. You can read, you can review it, but normally we will not touching it always, since it will be auto generate through the change of your class structure, and you want to execute the generated migration class as this Python file. You can read this Python file. It's just you Python to create a database structure for you, and then you call upgrade. It will generate SQL from this Python and then run it. We will keep the migration one by one in GitHub. So if you also version control the data, the testing data, not the production one, you can version using this kind of migration. This is not just from Flask. All kind of database, OR mapper have this kind of migration. Hibernate and other language also got something very similar. You maintain this migration file and then just version control them, and then you version control your database together in GitHub. And upgrade, downgrade, you can upgrade. Just send the latest version to certain version of the database. Downgrade, you can roll back your schema. This is the beauty of version controlling your database with the Flask. And if you review the file it generates, it's just quite easy to understand. You can be really just create table, create column, set up the primary key. Downgrade is you take the upgrade and downgrade action. It will automatically generate for you. Since you create a table, it will drop a table. You create a table, drop a table. You create an index, it will drop the index in the reverse direction, so that you increase here and the backward here one by one, to make sure your database can have multiple version and always can roll back your database schema. This is very important for a developer. And for login, we install the Flask login and then inheritance, and then set up the middleware. You can have, and then follow the guideline. You can have a very nice user authentication framework for you. We want to you should never store your user password in your database. If you're unluckily being hacked by a hacker your system, if you store your users database raw, just like directly, they will they will get hurt. Also, even though you use simple password hashing, it is no good since the hacker is able to revert engineer to get back the password. What we should do is we are so-called using something called send logic. Okay, some set. But what called send? Source logic. You have a password and a source, just a random number. Okay, you store your source. Every user have different source, and then the password you will never store into the database. When you create a password, random generate a source, and then send a source, and then a password being go to the hash function. We store the hash. When user want to log in, they will send the password to the system, but we don't get we don't know is this the password correct. We just take out the send here, and then go through the hash function. If the hash after the hash function, the password hash, the generated hash and the stored hash is the same, then the user log in successful. This is the very important part for when you store something secret in the system. Don't store it, otherwise you will have problem. For the Flask, we use this I don't know how to spell it, but this is Germany, a security module, and then you have the hash function, and then you generate the hash, and then you do the logic is checking the hash, just something like I mentioned before, just implement this one to check the password. And look, for the using the OOP style, we just learn about it. It's so-called set targeter. Okay, set password go through the hash function, but internally we don't save the password. We save the hash. When check password, we get the password, but we never save it in database. We check compare with the password with the hash. Then our system become a responsibility run. Okay, if you're being hacked, it will not expose your user password to the world. For the fast login, this is something called mixing. It's a bit complicated in the object or the program concept. We just add some function and fill into your class, but it's not inheritance. Just mix it in, put it in, so-called mixing. But you can review more. But the logic is just not inheritance. Just give you some field and function by this syntax. You make use of mixing, something very similar to inheritance, but you will get some data from mixing. Mixing will give you, is it authenticated? It means the user logged in. That is this active user? Is this anonymous user? Also, if the user already authenticated, you can get his user ID. This is from the mixing. And keep the user logged in that information. Once you log in that, we will set up a middleware and then save the user info from the section, keep it in the section, and then so that we can we will override a method so load user. We will get the user ID from section, from database. From database in your section got the user ID, and then the database got the user ID. It will return a user into your system. So after the middleware, one of the middleware run is logged in, you will already have the user object in your program, in your file, in your cycle of the controller method. You can get the user anytime. And here you just read the user ID. You just overload this method, will be okay. And override this method, override with the attribute. And for the login, after you check that you found the user data, you found the username, and then check the password. If login user okay, and then it will save the information in the memory. And logout, it will just call the Flask login variable called logout. It will log out the user to clean up the data. And require user to log in, and you need to told the login while set up the login while to the system. Otherwise, if the user haven't logged in, the system don't know redirect the user to which page. So you just config here so that it will know how to log in, how to go to the login URL. And if you want to make sure the page is required login, it is quite simple. You just need to add a decorator attribute. Okay, for Python, we so-called decorator, but for I may tell this is a filter. okay, or decorator. Some people will tell that this is we will say that this is a filter or decorator, but both of them you can understand very easily. If the stroke root path or the index page require login, you just put a hash here, put a tag here. Then if they are logged in, that they can access this web page. If he is not logged in, that he will be redirected to the login page. And decorator is a kind of syntax in Python, not just Flask. It's something from Python. You can just for something from function tools, it's Python package. You can always use function tools so-called wrapper, and then you define a class, and then override a decorator method, highlight as a wrapper, and then you got the syntax here. You can make something put here, and then data will go through here to this is the Flask source code. You will just redirect someone if you can't find the user. Okay, from the global variable you can't get the user, then you will redirect that user to the login page. And also we are sometimes for the for web application you need to have some paging or query string. You want to, for example, next one, we will keep up the login. We want to redirect the user back to his original page, original web URL. He can't log in before login, since he redirect from the previous page, and then after login you need to redirect him back to his original URL. You need to save it. You just from the before redirect, we'll append the next as this syntax, and then get from next. You will set up the next page, and then if login success, you just check there's this next page, and you redirect back to the page he before his login. After that, logout. After logout, you will not you don't have to show the username. But if you after you log in, you want to show the current username. It is quite normal. Otherwise, use the current user dot login. It's the page is already logged in. You can assume the username should be here. And for the login and logout may be the case if anonymous. It means no people the user is not logged in, is so log in. If already logged in, you show the logout. Yeah, what's the problem? If he is already anonymous, so log in, is it not logged in yet? But if he is not anonymous, it's just the next case, so the logout, and then the username. Maybe you can define your program yourself, and then just use this in the current user. From Flask, it will through the middleware will inject the current user to every. You don't have to set current user from your controller. Okay, there's no current user. It will set it up for you. And for the user registration, it's a form, but it's just straightforward. It's just a Flask form. Just put the field you need. Maybe additional field you need. Depend on your application. And then validate the username and email is need to be used database. Otherwise, you don't know that the username is a repeat or database is repeat. You just try to curate the username and curate the email, and then set up the validator, so-called validator username, validator email. You don't have to put into the field here. But when the user submit the form, call to the server, the controller, validate the form, it will trigger the validator with the name of the field and then check the database. It is automated. It is a very simple way to ensure the form data is correct. And then if the database you found the piece user, that it will show the error message to the user if the username is the same or email someone already using it. For profile, you want to have extract the username, so there is a syntax to extract the username and then append into the parameter, and then you just query it, find it or not find it, have different view. And if you find it, just find it. If you don't find it, something. This is the reason why there's this Flask SQL algorithm. This is from Flask SQL algorithm. From where point of view, if you find the record, If you don't find the record, just told the user 404. This is from Flask. It will automatically return the data to the user just 404. You in the past we will use some MD5, but here it's not for security, so it's still acceptable. We want to have the the rate to generate digest is a MD5 and then call out that URL or read that URL. We just put the format here, and then this is the rate of Python doing MD5 as the avatar. It's a small human logo that your face have avatar, and this is the way to do it. We will another extraction of your HTML. Since you found part of the HTML is already reused in different pages, you want to extract it out so you can reduce your you can everything duplicate will give you the problem in the future. If you duplicate twice, duplicate triple time, many times, when you need to train it or debug it, you need to debug all of the file. This is very difficult. So for Flask, except for the inheritance of the template, you can also extract the element as a small part of HTML, a piece of markup for the data. Just want to display the pros everywhere in the website, so the similar structure you can extract it. This is so-called the subtemplate. We extract the subtemplate when you display a post. You want the post to be in a table, and then every post the data every post is single table, single row, and here's the output. You will loop it one by one. And then you want to have the profile edit page. Edit page is a bit different from the creation, but it's very similar. In general, I will write some inheritance code for the from. It extends a field for the creation or edit page. Very similar. You want to edit it, and then you may set up some link validator. For example, you need to type something about me. If you don't type, it will not let you to save the data. But if you type it too long or too short, will not be working. It is one of the validator, so-called link validator. Error handling, if you don't do anything, is bad. If you have a warning, still it's better, but not a solution. If there's a really error, you should protect user from the problem. This is the programmer, the developer should have responsibility. We need to think about how to handle the error. First of all, when you do the development, and in Python, you can have this setting. In Visual Studio Code, you can use command to set a variable, so-called fast debugging, but don't hard code into your system. Okay, from terminal, you just set a variable in Linux, then it will help you to reload your web application every time you change the source code. It is very convenient when you're doing development. But for production, we don't want to show a lot of information to the hacker or someone you don't know. And for the error, if you have error, you're better to define the error page for different situations. For example, for the page not exist, you just predefine a 404 error page. Just have the Flask set the error handler for this function. When error, it will call this function and then return the page. For internal error related to database, something wrong. We want the database to roll back so that it will not have something run into the middle. For example, you update the content, you change something in the halfway, and then if you don't care about it, it will be always just shrink half of the data, and the other half is unchanged. This is not decidable. From the Flask framework, it will put the server-side error not to roll back first if the data in the puzzle, and then just told the user of some problem here. And here's the output for not found. For the exception here, you just administrator looks at the problem. It is a better error handling. But it is still not good, as no one got the server error. For the simplest case, is that send an email to the administrator, or if you are using cloud, you will send to the external logger and then trigger the notification to the administrator. But for a very simplified one, is just set up the web mail server, SMTP server. For example, you can use Gmail to send email. And then you can also have a test server for you, the real server or test server. We will use Docker to have a test mail server, to a mock email server to a mailbox for you to the development. And you need a logging package. This is something very, very important in all applications, since you need to log the problem of your of the for the user. If something error happen, you just logging. And logging, then you can have define the level of logging, mail logger, and then file logger. You just retrieve follow the document to set up your logger. You need to log the information, otherwise you have no way to debug the problem in production server. And if it is not debugged, ignore it. But if it's debugging, you just continue. And then one of the logger is file logger. Just create a folder called a log, and then to rate maybe the time, maybe the size. When it trigger the rule, it will train another file to append it, train other file name, whatever. The log format you need to define, and just follow the document to log what kind of information. You just set that up. Rotation, last 10 log file, too much file it will delete automatically. And then this is warning level. If you log for info, you will got a lot of information, debug a lot of information. But for warning, more serious, error and critical. For a log, you can just create a log here. Just log for info, log for error, log for warning. All kind of logging framework is at this file level. And then you can have the filtering a different logger for different level of log error, logging information. You can configure it so that you can control which information will be stored, which location, or how long time does it store. In database, as we have another lecture about SQL algorithm, you can also handle to many relationship. It's a teacher, you've got a association table, and Flora logic, you've got a column called user ID for the pros, and then Flora is about one to many. It is a many to many, since you can follow people, for people can also follow you. But we will not separate two tables. They are user, so you can have a table called Flora to connect the Flora together, which is many to many condition. And for the Flora relation, we just this is a user, okay. Mixing doesn't matter. It's just a database table, then okay. You can have a Flora, and then you divide the association through the Flora table, and then the first join and the second join together to a to single table. This is something very interesting design, and you need to divide a table like that. And then for the Flask application, you can also have unit tests of your source code. Since it's not necessary for you to run the wrap. You can call the controller just like a function to mock it and then call it. And you can set up a fake database. SQLite is the local small database, and then every time you test it, you run the program, create database, test it. After the test, delete the database, so that you can have the unit test of the web application. This is a modern web application. All the modern web application has in MVC style. It's because MVC style will help you easily to test your application with unit test. You don't have to take care about the view. You can test the view, test the controller, test the model one by one. Then for the user, yeah, we continue to say test the password, test the operator, whatever controller method you can write a test to run the unit test without really have a user to use the browser to handle it. This is the beauty of model view controller design. And then finally, we will some pagination. In all the website, you need to have a pagination. Page one, page two, first page, last page. How can we handle it? This is a package in Flask SQL algorithm. This is something fancy for you. It's called the paginator wrapper. You call the paginator, you just hold the page number, how many record per page, and then if you find error or whatever you do, you just follow this syntax. It can help you to get the data page by page, and then you just loop it like without pagination. This is the data part. For the display, you can see the output is page one, page two, page three, and then from the index page, you just get the page from the query and then put into the paginator. You will be able to have the pager data. For the URL, for the configuration, number of pages we will put into the config since we want to train it all the time with website. We maybe other case we would let user to train it, but for our case it's just make it free. Um, and then we want to have the previous and next for the page. So the first page, next page, previous page. We just have implement a logic here, and then it will generate the page number in the display, in the URL, in the UI. Okay. Oh, thank you very much. And more detail, you just research out the document. You know the concept and the package here will be good for you to Google it and then follow the latest version of the Flask and then do your and complete your web application. Thank you.